Hi, this is Leanne Wendt, and this is my final summary for Nursing 493, Community Health Nursing. Um, so my assessment was completed for this class by looking over the statistics for flu, pneumonia, neurovirus, and colds for this country of Scotland, where I am living currently with my husband who works here. And so I looked at those stats and decided to choose proper hand hygiene. My target audience was a group of ladies from our church, and most of them were age 50 and older. And there was about 10 people there, including the two missionaries for our church who were male, but they were there to help me with audio and video, but also they learned to wash their hands properly too. So hopefully they will stay healthy. So I really just determined what my topic should be by looking at the statistics of flu and pneumonia and the spread of it and how it does affect the vulnerable populations such as older people and younger people, including hospitalization and death. I could never get a solid number of how many people out of the 3,500 people who got sick with the flu this last year were hospitalized, but that's how many died, and 75% of that number was age 75 years and older. I presented my community education project at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's our little church building here in Perth, Scotland. And it was my husband, who is actually the branch president, that gave me permission to do that project here in Perth. And he indeed signed the permission form. And after I got his permission, I talked to the women's organization president, Evelyn Ferrens, and we coordinated a date that we could get together and have me present the plan, an educational module, as well as a lunch. We advertised this over the pulpit during our church services. We put notification in our bulletin and on Facebook. And then a week before the presentation, I made little reminders with hand sanitizers with a little tiny reminder at the top, attached to the top with string as to the time and the date. The educational materials that I provided for my audience was a handout and video and audio. Well, I guess that's not really materials, but I handed out a handout as well as sent them home after the education module with foaming hand soap. Um, that's really it, other than the actual PowerPoint. I didn't want to load them down with a bunch of stuff that would just clutter their house. I wanted to keep it simple and effective and send them home with something, but not a ton of stuff that would just sit under their car seat. So I think the way to evaluate as to whether this will improve the health concerns, I'm not really sure how we would do that other than maybe to have the target audience record whether or not they wash their hands on the daily and how many times. And then during next winter, record and monitor if they became ill with pneumonia, flu, colds, or the neurovirus or other bacterial infections. I don't think any evaluation could be done in a short amount of time and be effective. Um, it would take probably a good year to gather up enough evidence to see whether this was an effective presentation. So the tools that I would use to do this evaluation, I would just probably make a worksheet um, so they could check when and where they wash their hands. I really enjoyed doing the presentation. Being a member of our church, we have experience doing these kind of things in that we're asked to give like talks or sermons within the community, within the population of our church. and I've given lessons, church lessons. So it wasn't that bad for me to do that. So I actually think I did pretty good. Once I got started, I wasn't terribly nervous, and the population or the ladies, they responded. They loved it. They contributed appropriate comments. They had insight and ideas and stories, and we laughed and had a good time. So, with that said, I was just satisfied with the cohesiveness of the group, and that was actually there, and they just enjoyed each other's company. Um, Least satisfied with, I think I took on too much. I was the teacher. I put the craft together. I didn't ask anyone to help with the food except for to clean up, so I had a lot on my plate. And the night before, I was kind of stressed out. So I would probably delegate better. So three things that really went well, I think, was the craft. They loved the craft. They loved putting together the soap and with the essential oils. And the lunch, of course, went well. And the response was really good. And the things that I would change in the future was invite the men to come and also maybe advertise on a community Facebook page for the city of Perth just to see what kind of response I would get. So as I reflect on how my perspective of the community's health and national, state, and local efforts towards a healthier population has changed, number one, this was within the country of Scotland, and I've really become self-aware of washing my hands during the day. So on that level, I know there was at least one person affected, and that was me. So it starts with one person, right? And hopefully these 10 ladies will teach their families, and the proper hygiene can spread. Good proper hygiene. The health of the target community population that I had, they're generally healthy women. We live by a word of wisdom where we don't smoke or drink, do drugs, coffee and tea. And so these ladies are pretty healthy. So, with that said, I don't even really remember any of them being super sick this last winter, but I'm not really sure how to put it other than that. They're healthy women to begin with. And so the Healthy People 2020 goals that I had chosen to focus on was healthcare associated infections, because that's really the only thing that fit with my project. Um, of course, washing our hands within the hospital setting is imperative. It's just basic first line of defense mode for preventing the spread of infection. So yes, the intervention of proper hand hygiene would definitely affect my chosen goal in the Healthy People healthcare associated infections such as CLABSIs, um, urinary tract infections because of catheters, MRSA, C. diff, all that. I think the impact that I had on my target population was a positive one. Like I said, we had a really good time, and we learned a lot. I learned that there was two Scottish ladies who, back in the 1800s, received a necklace from one of their boyfriends, and it had the plague on it, leftover plague. I think he must have taken the necklace off of a dead body, but anyways, they put the necklace on, and eventually both of them got sick with the plague and died. So that was an interesting story that came out of all of this. And you can actually go visit their grave just north of Perth. I enjoyed the class. It was challenging during the summer, but I'm glad that it's done, and I learned a lot.